So I have been not forthcoming. About a week ago now, I was invited to go to Blizzard HQ and actually experience the Tempest before anyone else. Myself, as well as some of the other content creators, did all enjoy it together. It was a really phenomenal experience, guys. I have learned so much more about Blizzard and the team that works on Diablo Immortal, and truly, it was very inspiring. And it was a super fun experience, and it's really cool to see like all the real people that exist behind this. And we interact with them on Discord already. Part of the partner program is being able to interact with a lot of these same people in Discord. But to see them face to face, to talk to them, go out to dinner with them, and talk everything Diablo Immortal with even just fellow content creators was such a awesome experience. It was a I don't want to say once in a lifetime, but it really did feel like sort of once in a lifetime. Again, this isn't my main job. This isn't my main source of income, but to have a hobby that has turned into such a strong passion of mine, give me the luxury of being able to get flown over to California to literally meet some of the people that I've been playing games with forever now, and meet the people that develop said games. Like, it was just an awesome experience. But first, I will go into great detail on that trip, and I even have some pictures I'll show you guys. But in this video, guys, I do want to talk about the Tempest, because ultimately that's probably why you're here. So first things first, now I have pre-recorded this video and it is set on a schedule to be released ahead of time, or in the future. So this is misery from the past. Blizzard will obviously probably promote and produce their own blog content around the same time I post this video, but I want to break down the skills individually as the first sort of step in this awesome process of getting to know the Tempest. So these are the official skills that are becoming and that I got to play with, and then I'll show you guys some gameplay as well. Let's get to it. So first things first here is Wind Edge. And Wind Edge is one of two primaries. You notice that you also have a passive here at the top. So it's called Mist Touched. And I didn't click on it, unfortunately, in this recording, but you basically, some of your skills will produce this summon for you. So it doesn't matter what primary or skills you use, you always have this passive active. So it's brand new to Diablo Immortal, but it's always active. So it's really cool. And then, of course, some of the skills will interact with them differently, but basically they are similar to, like, imagine them as echoing shades that will pop up with you and do some primary attacks as well. And then some of your abilities can make them do your active skills again, so it's pretty sick. And you can also like trade places with them. There's so much to unpack with the Tempest, and I'll give you guys that up front. That we tried for like 4.5 hours to like develop all these different builds. All of us focused on like PvP at first. You're also going to see some PvP in this footage, and then we did some PvE. We did some gauntlets. Like, we did so much with the Tempest, guys, and it was really awesome to be able to test all this for you guys. But anyway, so Water's Edge is just that. It's more of a whip. So it is a mid-range attack, but it is very, very slow. So that's the first one here. That is Wave Edge. Now, Wind Edge, on the other hand, is a more dagger-like quick attack. So you have the ability of doing almost two attacks with this compared to Wave Edge. But again, the range is more of that of a dagger, which is very, very close in combat. And it says, so for the ultimate, it talks about the ultimate here. I'm going to go ahead and play it a little bit because I go through all the skills, and you see this is Blade Dance. So this is cooldown 9 seconds. Throw the blades of your edges forward into the ground, dealing 16,000 damage to enemies and stunning them for 2 seconds. After a short delay, you pull yourself into the blades, dealing 23,000 damage and knocking back enemies in your path. So this is the one where you literally throw your blade edges forward, and then it pulls you forward, and you like get launched through them. So I will say from experience, it is very, very hard to land in PvP, at least in a 1v1 situation. Probably different in BGs when there's more than one person that you're fighting against. But for PvE and or just movement, it was actually kind of fun to utilize. Again, this is more of a wind. You can see that everything's sort of color-coded, wind and water. So Breaker was a pretty interesting one. So, all right, so Breaker was a little interesting. So flourish your blades edges, unleashing a wave that crashes over enemies, dealing 31,000 damage. So Breaker is essentially just a massive wave that hits them. And you can hit it from a pretty long range. So it does turn you into more of like a mage style attack where you're literally just launching a wave at them. And then again, your essences dramatically change everything. But I don't know if I'll cover that in this video or not, but maybe I will. But there's so many good essences coming to the game as well. The next one that we look at, you can see that's one of the essences that are changing it. Cascade. So Cascade, you and your Zephyrs, that's what they're called, your little summons, slam your edges into the ground, unleashing a crashing wave around you, dealing 28,000 damage to enemies within the area. So you and your Zephyr, so you literally see like multiple waves because of the cascade. And there's actually some, again, I keep saying that the essences are going to change everything. Just like I thought and I had hypothesized, the essences dramatically changed these to be like just super, super cool. Some of these even make it so like it's just a constant cascade of waves over and over again, which sounds like it'll be sick for farming. But yeah, so this one's pretty fun. Next up is crosswinds. You and your Zephyrs unleash a gust of wind at a target location. So this one's actually pretty cool. Now keep in mind the name is crosswinds. So because your Zephyrs are out and about, where you can actually control where they go. So if like oh gosh, I almost need like paint for this. So let's say this is me and this is my Zephyr. If we are both launching the crosswinds at the same time, we can control where in between us we launch it, and the wind will launch from both of us. It's truly like a crosswinds. It can lead, I did try it a little bit for PvP. It does lead to some interesting combos in PvP. So I really liked that one a lot. And yeah, it was pretty interesting actually. It did some decent damage. Now it was with like no essences. So flowing strike, conjure a Zephyr at your current location as you dash forward in a flurry of blades, dealing 29,000 damage to all enemies in your path. Again, just more of a PvE, just a dash, not even PvE or PvP, just a dash essentially. So you conjure and then you dash. Pretty straightforward there. Fog step, the next one is pretty sick. So we talked about crosswinds already. Fog step. So creates an area of wind that lasts 3.5 seconds, prevents you from being picked out, and increases your attack speed by 20%. Now you notice one of the main hands that I have equipped is Wind Walk, which is again fog step, also removes all non-loss of control harmful effects. So you basically drop this, it has a 24-second cooldown without any beneficial effect durations or anything like that, but you basically drop this and you get immune to all that stuff, and then you also prevents you from being picked out, or I guess CC'd. It's again, this was a very early build of the Tempest. I'm sure this will all be cleared up by the time that you see this video, but it also increases your attack speed. There's a shoulder essence, I won't forget it because I thought it was just busted good, that ties into this fog step that literally makes it so you don't take primary attack damage while you're in this area. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? Like, just goodbye Demon Hunter, goodbye other Tempest. It actually made it really interesting when dueling, that when you drop it, if you stay in that area, you just didn't take damage. It was pretty insane. So a pretty huge cooldown for this class, but again, this was without like set gear and beneficial effect durations and stuff like that. So we weren't like truly min-max like most of our accounts will be now. So but this one has a lot of great potential, especially in PvP. Moving on, Riptide is the next one. Again, so keep in mind, similar to like when the Blood Knight came out, there aren't a lot of essences compared to what we have on all the other classes. Dang it. Go back. Oh, you can see I liked it. I liked what I saw. All right, so Riptide. Release your edges to command the water around you into a crushing tide that pulls in nearby enemies, 34,000 damage, and stunning them for 2 seconds. So a lot of CC. Now, like I was saying though, before I interrupted my own thought process, very similar to when the Blood Knight came out, where it didn't feel like there were just a ton of essences, where some of the builds felt a little broken because you didn't have like a matching essence for a certain slot. The Tempest also felt that way, but we did not get to test all of the essences that will be released. That is something I do want to make a special comment about, because we did do like the gauntlet, and some of us found new essences, but the build that we were on, like the test server, the test build, wouldn't actually allow us to extract those essences and test them. But we did get to test a lot of them. Riptide had a ton of essences that allowed you to like manipulate it. Fog step, there was like, I think we called it like the all left side of your build, where like literally all 4 items on the left side of your build, which would be like the head, the shoulders, and the 2 main hands, could all buff fog step, and that was like basically half your build was just fog step and one skill, but 4 essences for fog step. Riptide was very similar. It counteracted fog step, so you didn't use a lot of this at the same time. Rolling surf is a cool one. I don't know when I go back to it here. Oh, wow, that was 30 seconds forward. So rolling surf, empower yourself with the sea for 6 seconds, causing your Zephyr's primary attacks to hurl water blades that penetrate enemies, dealing 24,000 damage. Additionally, your movement speed is increased by 35%, and you ride a wave, allowing you to primary attack. So this is the one that we've seen in some of the videos that I've also covered, where basically you get to hop on a wave and you get to literally just be able to attack while you're on the wave while boosting your your movement speed. I will say, now again, we did not have, I can't stress it enough, we did not have full builds when we were doing this. Like, we got very specific legendary gems that we could use, so it was a very controlled environment. It felt slow. The 35% was not incredibly noticeable, I'll be honest, but it was ideal for farming. So with like this one with Riptide, there was some very obvious benefits to be able to farm, just being able to move faster, and then AoE damage with the Riptide. Riptide, what was the other one? Flowing Current, maybe? I don't know, one of the other ones. But again, this one is a buff, so you get to extend the duration with the appropriate, beneficial effect durations, which we did not have. I cannot stress that enough. So this will probably last longer, obviously, maybe even get to 100% uptime. It would be my gut. But ultimately, this one was really good for PvE. There are some essences that made it good for PvP, which was a little weird, but again, more to come. Squall. So call on the power of the wind to teleport you and your Zephyrs to a target location, unleashing a swirl of attacks, dealing 32,000 damage. So a lot of basically the build and the whole idea of the Tempest is to be able to flow. The idea is to have burst damage, be able to teleport in, teleport out. You're an assassin, basically, guys, and you're controlling the elements of water and wind, and just the ability of jumping in and out super, super fast was sick. Also, I'm just now realizing that there was 2 hours and 44 minutes, so they must have cut a little bit, because we did definitely test it for like 4 hours. Which they told us they were going to do. They were going to cut out anything that was like too early for us to be sharing. So everything that I'm showing you guys is, we've been confirmed with Blizzard that we can share with you. That's obviously why I'm doing it. There are other things that we got to see that maybe on accident or not that were part of this build that we won't even discuss. But again, everything here is truly coming to the game. So Squall is an interesting one as well. Let's go over to the next one. So Storm Fury. Imbue your edges and the weapon of nearby allies for 9 seconds, causing your primary attacks to unleash slashes of wind, dealing additional 40% damage. So you can see that, like, water is more AoE and wind is more single target. That's a lot of like what a lot of us came to the conclusion of. But when you tie those two together, it's what makes it so unique of a class that you can literally just do so much stuff with. Now let's continue. Squall. Tidal Rush. So 6-second cooldown. Now again, this was all while I was looking at it for the first time. So I'm trying to break this down as in going over like the thoughts that I had in my head as I was doing it, and we'll break down some of the builds I talked about as well, or I tested as well. So you and a targeted Zephyr dash at each other's current locations, slicing through enemies in your wake, dealing 32,000 damage, maximum 3 charges. So again, with this one, you're literally like switching places with your Zephyr and dealing damage as you do so. So again, keep in mind, this is all like dashing, damage, dashing. So like the builds and the fights that we're going to have with the Tempest are going to be so much fun, guys. It's going to be a little crazy. Let's continue on. Vortex was a very annoying skill to work with. Hopefully I click on it here. Oops. All right, so this one, this was super annoying, and I'm sure that we can come up with some pretty interesting builds. And when I say annoying, I was like, I mean like annoying to fight against. So what it does is conjure a vortex that pulls in nearby enemies, dealing 96,000 damage over 6 seconds. So it does damage over 6 seconds. It has a 9-second cooldown, so 3 seconds of not having it up. It was pretty busted. And this was I don't think it'll be buffed with beneficial effect duration, I don't believe, but this one was super annoying because you can cast it wherever you want, within a range, obviously. So in a 1v1 against another Tempest, you can literally put it where they are or where they're going and zone them, and it'll pull them in immediately. There's very little delay. It's basically click point and place it, and it's just there. So partner this with like Maw of the Deep, Starfire Shard, and all the other CCs that we have in our legendary gems. Like, you could just CC the heck out of someone, and once you're in it, like, it is a strong. I had to use a dash to get out, or I was just dead in the 1v1s that we were doing. So this one has a lot of potential, especially for zoning. It is very, very strong and very, very annoying. You can see a sneak peek of one of the essences that I was using, which is Tidal Whirlpool. Now summons a tornado out of the ocean for 5 seconds that pulls in nearby enemies, dealing 16,000 damage. That's the one that was really annoying. All right. Enemies caught in the center of the twister will be knocked away up to a maximum of 1 strike every 3 seconds. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next one here, which is the last skill, Zephyr Surge. So dissipate into the air, becoming untargetable and unleashing a fury of 5 slashes on nearby enemies, dealing 8,784 damage with each hit, and the final strike dealing 10,000. Now, this has a pretty decent cooldown of 9 seconds, but Zephyr Surge also consumes all of your Zephyrs, empowering the attack with two what? 2 additional slashes for each Zephyr consumed. Now, this one is a straight up iframe, and this is basically what the attack looks like. There's a ring on the ground, and you basically bounce around doing damage. You are untargetable while you are in this mode. So you can still take damage, but you are untargetable. Now, this is really important when you were PvPing, at least when we were PvPing, because a lot of the Tempest's skills are like targeting someone. So with the exception of like Vortex, where like basically it was like rock, paper, scissors. You put Zephyr Surge down, you put Vortex on top of it, GG for the Zephyr Surge, right? But this one is like, I think it will have a place with certain essences, but Vortex was way more annoying to deal with. Even though you're not an iframe, this one is still an iframe, and there were some essences that benefited this, but they were not fluent. A lot of the builds that we played with were very, very fluent to utilize and super fun to mix and match and put together. It was actually, all of the content creators had a really hard time making the quote unquote best builds, and we had 4.5 hours of testing, which I personally think is a good thing. I think the longer it takes to perfect a build just kind of shows the skill gap that you have on a new class, which is awesome. And I truly think this class has a massive skill gap. I think people that will practice and just grind with this class are going to be light years better than someone who doesn't. You cannot just switch to this class and be good, kind of like a Blood Knight. I hate to say it. I said it. Blood Knight is a very easy class to manage and to operate. Tempest is the exact opposite. It is very tough. It has a huge skill gap. It is very much a combination of the monk and like an assassin from D2. It is very, very bursty, but very, very squishy. All right. This is already pretty long. I'll probably go ahead and record a different video going over more stuff. You can see me sort of moving around. I think I start playing with, you can see some of the other. We also had, so that's one of them. That's the wave. That's the one where you ride the wave. You can see it's a 10-second cooldown. It lasts for about 6-7 seconds. I don't even know which skill that was. Oh, that was the dash that we have. So again, you're just dashing forward. So it's a great movement ability. That's the one that you ride away, that like you throw the wave and you also ride it. So lots of really cool things in this build, guys. You can see that, okay, let's go ahead and end the video, right? Okay, that's going to do it for today's video, guys. I will be covering so much more. As you can see, we are just in the very beginning of what, let me move my screen so you can see what I'm talking about. We are in the very beginning of all the testing that I did on the Tempest, but this is the full first breakdown of the skills coming for the Tempest. Let me know which ones you think you're most interested for. And like I said, make sure you subscribe to the channel, guys. I have so much more coverage of what we did there and so much more to talk about. So make sure you subscribe and like the video for even more coverage for the Tempest. Until next time, I hope to see you in a video soon.